a better service to what's actually in your book and the art that you will spend some time with as you get to know this issue would, I think, be for me to read the piece that I wrote, but do a little bit of elaboration. And one of the ways that I'll elaborate is I will read some poems that have lines in them that inspired the titles of some of Lillian's paintings. When I, on a first, not the first draft, but the first finished draft that I sent her to review and make sure I got things right, and she was happy with what I'd written. She replied, I had a paragraph about how, or even just a sentence about how some of the titles of her works are like mini poems. They're just like a whole little universe, and they strike one as very poetic. And indeed, she replied, "Oh, I should have given you the poems that some of those titles came from." So you could just feel it coming off of those titles that there was like a bigger poetic story happening. And so she furnished me with some titles, and I'm actually going to read the poem that is at the beginning of her artist talk, and then I'll direct you. Actually, I should direct you to the poem. The painting that it references, and I think it's the painting to everybody's right, this whiteout painting here. Let me just verify that. It's the painting on the cover, actually. And it's also, it's detail on the cover, and the full painting is on page 55. So don't pay no attention to the paintings on the side right now. Let me direct your attention to this cover painting, which is a beautiful encapsulation of Lillian's her message. Well, she has multiple messages, but her style of presenting her messages, which is the juxtaposition of nature, of natural things and human-made things. So it's like right there on the cover, and the title of the poem is "Fissure and Collapse." The title of the painting, and I just love the mix of disciplines here, because a poem that informs a painting a painting that informs a poem is a very well-trod pathway for making art, and vice versa. And like the classical piece of music by Rimsky-Korsakov, or is it Mussorgsky? I think it's Mussorgsky, Pictures at an Exhibition, the 19th century, thank you. I get those two confused. It's like Bach and Handel. Just kidding, I would never confuse Bach and Handel. Anyway, Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition, which is a romantic era piece of music that that's a series of pieces of music about a series of paintings. And there's the eternal question of how much do you need to know about what the artist was thinking about to get something out of the piece of art? And the answer is, it's infinite. You can, the more informed you are, the more layers you uncover. But anyway, I'm going to read the poem called "The Moment" by Margaret Atwood, which contains the title "Fissure and Collapse," which is this painting. The moment. The moment when, after many years of hard work and a long voyage, you stand in the center of your room, house, half-acre, square mile, island, country, knowing at last how you got there, and say, "I own this," is the same moment when the trees unloose their soft arms from around you, the birds take back their language, the cliffs fissure and collapse, the air moves back from you like a wave, and you can't breathe. "No," they whisper, "you own nothing. You were a visitor, time after time, climbing the hill, planting the flag, proclaiming, 'We never belonged to you. You never found us. It was always the other way round.'" So with that, I'll read a little bit from this profile that I wrote. Lillian Bayley Hoover, A Public-Private World. And by the way, had I known about these poems, I think I would have titled that differently. There's a line in one of these poems that's just like, ugh, that's my title, but in another life. Lillian Bayley Hoover makes paintings about human encounters with our environments, from the mundane to the dramatic. She is equally curious about the shadow cast by a telephone cord along a baseboard of her Northeast Baltimore home, as she is about large, wild, or semi-wild, more on that later, landscapes around the world. Always, her paintings about the natural world focus on the constant impact of that nature upon us, and in turn, our constant impact on the natural world. Longtime readers of LPR might remember Lillian Hoover's name, since this is in fact not the first profile of her work in this publication. In 2011, Michael Saltzman wrote about her body of work up to that point. The last 15 years have felt very long, and in that time, Hoover has made so much more work and told such important stories in her powerful visual language that a revisiting felt more than merited. Okay, so we can do follow along. So the first one that we'll talk about, they happen in order. So on page 48 is a painting called Untitled, and you'll see we're indoors on this one. In the work she has made since 2011, Hoover has allowed her landscape focus to widen from tiny and domestic to the enormous and rugged. As she describes it, little problems around her personal space became studies on abstract or formal delicacy. These studies of household details, like cords along the wall in Untitled, baseboard, or the front porch ceiling in Porch, 2016, those are both on page 48, evolved into studies around the neighborhood, down alleyways, in places beside or between the things that people are supposed to notice. Hoover has a constant fascination with awkwardness and flaws in a landscape, products of the marks of human activity upon it. More fascinating still are the larger human stories that those marks can tell about environmental degradation, about the effect that a human-built environment has in turn on the humans who built it, and about ownership of and access to natural places. One of Hoover's most gorgeous studies of clouds, and there are many, is Conjuring Ourselves as Ghosts, 2023, and that is page 49. And I'll flash it in case you don't have an issue in front of you. How many of you have the book in front of you? Okay, how many would benefit from having the book in front of you? Can we do like a little loaner program? Like program in the sense of initiative, so that we can, because I could bring them, it's not going to be the same if there's like a little, yeah, so honor system, if you borrow one, please return it, or buy it. This is a rent-to-own situation. So yes, out of gratitude for the gorgeousness in your hands, you can buy a copy on your way out. And if not, please return it. Thank you, board folks. So this painting, Conjuring Ourselves as Ghosts, again, that title is from a poem, and I'm not sure that I have that poem, but I'll read at least one more. Anyway, back to that painting. Yes, where was I? Oh, I skipped to the very end. That's not good. Okay, so one of Hoover's most gorgeous studies of clouds, and there are many, is Conjuring Ourselves as Ghosts, 2023, in which we can see an ominous majesty of clouds underlit by sunset light, but we can only see it through the frame created by a dark crevasse of elevated interstate highway ramps. In this, and in so many of Hoover's paintings, the tightness of the frame around the nature is precisely what makes the painting poignant. There is no possibility of being swept away in the romance of these clouds. A glance across the paintings of Hoover's 2017 to 2018 series, Holding Space, might give an impression of a whiteout, a burial under snow. This painting to my left is one of these paintings, and it is titled, it's the one with no title. It's on page 50. I'll take a moment to do, what's it called? Behind the music, behind the literary magazine. So this painting does not have a title. It's not just titled Untitled. It does not have a title. And that was something I had to confirm and reconfirm with the artist. And then in communicating with the design editor, David, I told him this painting has no title. So just like, don't put a title. And I missed it on the last pass. There's nothing there. It's not that, he deleted the whole caption, misunderstanding what I meant, and I missed his misunderstanding. So in music, when you like have a train wreck on stage, some brave person is going to get up and say, "This is live music making, ladies and gentlemen." Like the time I had a tambourine in the harpsichordist's ear, and someone handed me a tambourine right as we went on stage. We had not rehearsed it. It was so stupid. We train wrecked like 3 times at a high school, and I had to I put the tambourine down eventually. But anyway, I'm just being real with you about how typos happen, and when you have a painting with no title, and like the fact that it has no title is so full of meaning. I guess it's like even more poignant because there's nothing there. It's total void, which that's kind of the point. Okay, back to away from this asterisk, this big asterisk. Okay, in this whiteout, the viewer must meet quietly with the paintings, eyes wide and whiskers forward, waiting for images to emerge, as in 2018 paintings Cleft, Sedimentary Preservation, and Veiled. So open to the whiteout portion of the paintings, and you'll see them all. Or the small fraction of a picture being shown, as in Standby, also from 2018. It's hard work looking for the shapes and the picture that's been obscured, and that's absolutely part of the point here. Because her paintings document this inextricably connected relationship between the world as it is and was for many millions of years, and the human animals who have changed the face of it so dramatically in a few hundred years, it's impossible not to consider the current politics in which her paintings sit. All the post-2016 paintings featured here reflect Hoover's responses to and perspectives since the beginning of the authoritarian presidency of Donald Trump. Hoover writes elegantly about her own work. And this is a quote. "Something broke for me in 2017. It was a hard year for many in our country. The work I'd been making no longer felt sufficient to process the pervasive despair, anxiety, and brokenness I encountered and felt at every turn. I began covering my paintings with many layers of thin white glazes. In burying them, I could simultaneously deny one's access, an act motivated by fury and fear, and preserve them for a safer time, a hopeful action. I simplified in other ways too and tore critical information away." And when we adjourn and you want to come up and look at these paintings up close, you can see that it can be confusing what's positive and what's negative in one of Hoover's paintings, and the looking at it slightly sideways, you can see which way the light is reflecting. You get a sense of, oh, that's like glossy cover paint, or that's matte over paint, or there's different textures, and you can see what's really happening more accurately with the actual physical painting in front of you. So I thought it was really important to bring a couple of examples so you can see that. It looks sometimes like there's like tape, like she taped over the canvas and painted on top of and around the tape and then removed the tape. And actually that's not what happened. She painted the whole canvas and then scraped away some of that paint. So it's there's this. I find it kind of poetic and moving that this process of hiding or removing or even destroying something in bad times it's what all animals do. It's what the wolf mom does when there aren't enough resources for her pups. Bad things will happen to those pups, and it's very, very dark. But she also emphasizes and in fact she does so in her artist talk, and I want to see if I can find it. She emphasizes the hopefulness of like burying the treasure for another time, because the darkness of destroying your work to protect it from worse destruction in a way is you can't come at the consumer of a piece of consumers. Strike me down for saying that. The experiencer of a piece of art. If you come at them with overwhelming darkness, it's too much. So this hope is it pervades her work. And I'll just read a little bit from her artist talk about this joy versus grief tension. The joy in the paint, these are Lillian's words now. The joy in the paintings is perhaps more obvious than the grief. They show many beautiful moments, each of which began as an encounter in the landscape, moments that occurred while I was out for a casual walk or a hike in the wilderness, in quotation marks. I put this in quotes because our influence is actually quite pervasive. Human meddling can be found in the most remote mountains, and what may seem to be untouched land is not. I was raised by hippies, as you have probably guessed already. I don't know if you could guess that from what and this is Lillian again. Anyway, skipping, of course, this is a little out of context. I was raised by hippies and spent a good deal of my childhood outdoors and barefoot. A lot of that time was spent in the mountains, which felt like home. I became a rock climber and went to college in the mountains. When I moved to Baltimore over 20 years ago, I cried every day because I was surrounded by concrete and couldn't walk in the dirt barefoot. So I've made a practice of finding sustenance wherever I can. Any intimacy with growing things and running water and sun-baked rocks. I do leave the city for hikes when I can, but nature, in quotation marks, can be found in myriad places, not just in national parks and wilderness preserves, but also in city parks, the scrubby land between the highway and a shopping center, a strip of woods at the edge of a neighborhood, the polite right-of-way between adjoining properties. Many of these paintings reference sites in Baltimore City. For instance, a couple that aren't in here. Yes, many of these paintings reference sites in Baltimore City. I love what scraps of nature I can find, and it is a relief. But I don't know how to reconcile the fact that I am nourished by wild things, and at the same time my very existence destroys them. So that is it's right here. It's reductive, but I'll go with it. The cover, David chose the cover art on his own. He, the design editor, always has, I give him first crack. If there's some reason that I think it's not good, I'll let him know, but he has a knack for picking good covers. Okay, so I guess I don't want to, I think what we'll do is skip to the end of the profile that I wrote and the last painting, which I find to be the most hopeful and the most full of light. I'm going to let you all just explore this one because it's not in the group. I will find the title and make sure that I tell you all what the title is so you can encounter it knowing at least that about it. Also, it's in her biography, in the contributor notes at the very end of this, but her website has the complete catalog of her works, and it's beautiful. And I encourage you to just to scroll through the various collections and to follow her. She has pieces in the permanent collection at the BMA, and she is, her work is just, it's stunning and heartbreaking. And I like heartbreaking stuff, I guess. I like Tolstoy. So I'm going to skip to this last piece in the group. So that's on page 56. And it's called We Possess Only This Moment. And I definitely encourage you to follow up by looking on the biggest screen device you have, your laptop or whatever, to look at these images a little bit bigger and with like backlit by photons or whatever, electrons, like on a screen, because they're bright. And there's nothing wrong with how this is reprinted, but it's just sort of flat and papery instead of luminous like the real thing. And a screen actually captures that luminousness in a way that paper doesn't. So Lillian, well, it's in the contributor notes. I'm just going to shout it out, though. Hoover comes before. Okay. Oh, man. Is it not here? Oh, I think it's in the profile, but LillianHoover.com. Just wanted to make sure her middle name wasn't in there. All right. So let me just talk a little bit about this last painting. Yeah, just this last paragraph. So poet, teacher, and mentor Kendra Kopelke, who was the founder of University of Baltimore's Creative Writing and Publishing Arts program, gave me some beautiful advice on looking at art in a class aptly titled Creativity. She said, if you look at a painting, you enter a world of privacy. The world of privacy is immediate and moving in Hoover's paintings, in none more so than we possess only this moment. That's page 58, 2023. The stars of this painting are the tender, luminous leaves of the plants in the foreground. How does a painter do that? Pulling the viewer's first wave of attention. But stay and take in the whole picture, and you will find, and you will find, oh, there's a typo, and you will find a presentation of all of Hoover's repeating stories at once, human structures colliding with wild spaces, the artist's obsession with minute corners and awkward spaces, and the glorious clarity of our earth, always partly out of sight and just out of reach. So I encourage you to spend some time with the paintings represented here and online. And also, I want to know if y'all have any questions that I could possibly answer, or comments or thoughts about the interdisciplinary world of poems about paintings, or music about poems, or anything that you'd like to ask or share. And we do have a little sharing mic if you're bursting with an idea that you'd like to throw out there. Yeah, I see a hand up. I'm going to bring you a mic. Oh, Allie's going to bring you a... We need the mic so that the camera... Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think I turned it on, Allie.
Check.
Yeah! We're going to make you feel important.
Yeah, I wonder if you have contributions of poems or art based upon music. Because, I used to paint a little bit, and I found that music really affected how I painted.
That's such a great question. And usually music is based upon, hang on a second. Yeah, people set poems to music, right? Vocal music has text. And so a composer takes a text and makes music for it. And you're talking about the other way around, which is, people writing poetry that is inspired by music. And it is much less, it comes across my editorial desk much less often than the intersection of visual art and poetry. There are so many poems in the last 6 issues that are inspired by a painting. And in fact, Kendra Kopelke, the former director of the MFA program at UB, she wrote a book of poems about Edward Hopper's paintings, and called Hopper's Women. So yeah, I'm going to be on the lookout. It doesn't, and if anybody, if there's like an obvious poem, like, in the big standard Western repertoire of, I'm thinking of like My Papa's Waltz, but that's not what that's all about. So yeah, I don't know the answer, and it's a great question. And anyone else can jump in with, thoughts about that if they have them. Yeah. Allie's going to come to you with the magic mic.
Yes, Diego and Frida established a wonderful opera, if anyone saw it.
Yes, I heard it. I heard the Met broadcast a couple of weeks ago.
We saw it at the, as produced live from the Met, and it was very, very interesting.
I'll second that. That's so that would be music inspired by paintings, kind of in the tradition of Mussorgsky, not Rimsky-Korsakov. Yes, it's an opera that was recently produced by the Metropolitan Opera, and it's called The Last Dream of Frida and Diego. And it's fabulous and so weird and wonderful, and yeah, I recommend that to anyone who loves the art of Frida Kahlo and or Diego Rivera and high drama and a fantastic coloratura soprano who is just nuts. Yes, and Allie's nodding. We appreciate a coloratura soprano. Yeah, that falls in the art based on paintings category for sure, and the drama of their personal story. Oh yeah, go ahead, Holly. Thank you, Allie.
Thank you. I would love to hear a little bit more about the process of deciding where to put Lillian Hoover's paintings. I did some work at a literary magazine in college, and I know layout is always a discussion. Yes. So I'd be curious to hear whether this was the first idea or whether there was a series of decisions that had to be made about where to put those paintings, whether they would be together or separate, and also how you wound up with the image you chose for the cover.
Yeah, so great questions, and I actually have answers. The cover image was decided on by David Saunier, the design editor for LPR. He's the last stop for all of the material that goes in. So there's all the readers and the genre editors and me making decisions about what goes in. And then we have a copy editor who is awesome and catches just all kinds of things. And she copy edits the pieces as they come in, just for she's looking for consistency and clarity. Occasionally we have an argument over a comma. Sometimes we have a little heated back and forth. Not heated at all. It's loving and respectful about commas, and sometimes this is a little bit of an aside, but sometimes a piece will have lots of commas, like a piece of prose. It'll be really comma happy, or it'll be like like a rush of words with no it's underpunctuated, and I have to decide: is that by design? Is that supporting the how we're supposed to feel it and hear it in our minds as it goes? And Kelly, the copy editor, is she's all about clarity, and I'm more about supporting the idea of the writer. So if it's underpunctuated, it's underpunctuated for a reason, if I think it is. Anyway, after it goes through the process of copy editing and an initial and ordering. So I create the order of all the pieces. Then it goes to David for layout. In the case of Lillian's paintings, I actually drew. Because I don't work with InDesign or a program that handles page layout. David does. So lacking InDesign or a page layout program for me to show, like, this is the right-hand facing page, left page, left page, right page. I just used little pieces of paper and laid them out on my couch and wrote the title of each painting and where I wanted it, because I definitely did want the like the whiteout section. I wanted to have a whole spread that was this just mysterious white kind of. So that actually, I built the rest of the layout around that center fold of white, but also I wanted the pieces to be generally in the order in which I discussed them in the profile. Sometimes it feels less necessary to have a tight link there, but I wanted the reader to be able to kind of go through with me in the way that I talked about them. Did I answer it? Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna look at the time. I want to make sure that okay. I want to make sure we have time for anybody to ask questions, and also I'm putting you two on the spot, but ask any questions of our two poets if they're feeling fortitudinous enough to answer them, and I intuit that they are. So if anyone has questions for the poets, you've got real live poets in the room. Like, here they are. We won't put them on like stands and make them stand up in front, but anyway, Allie's on the way to George. George has a question.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
For the second poet whose name I forgot.
Holly. Yes, Holly yes. Branco.
Here's the question. It relates to your poem directly. Who is Mary?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mary is my mother.
Yeah. It's just like the Beatles song "Let It Be," but different.
There's no religious element to it.
You mean in "Let It Be"?
Yeah.
No. Oh, in this. Sorry, in the poem at hand. Well, that's maybe. Yeah.
There is a biblical reference, but yeah, I hadn't thought of Mary as being anyone other than my mother within the context of the poem, but Jonah from Jonah and the Whale is mentioned.
Yeah.
So there's definitely religious overtones, for sure.
Fair. And you never know what you wrote until other people tell you what you wrote. It's like when you have a dream and you tell your sister and you don't even need her reaction. You realize, oh yes. By saying it out loud, you realize what it was. Okay. Oh, yeah, we have another question. Thank you. Oh, we have two more questions.
You're closer to me.
Okay, we'll do close then far.
I'm interested for both poets. How far back can you go in your life to recall the moment whenever you wrote a poem? I know you may not remember the first one, but the first one that you recall in your mind, in your memories, in your emotional brain, the first poem that you can remember.
Okay, it's okay. My legs work. Thank you. I'll come next time and be Allie.
Yeah, it was really early, like with crayons.
Remember the emotional feeling you had.
And I drew a horse with it. Oh. And I remember the horse.
I was not writing poems forever and ever, at least in the sense that I feel them to be now, but I was always involved in music, and I think from a young age I was making up songs, And so I remember walking around like 4th grade gym class singing a song that I'd made up that I taught my friend. Very like simple, like one melody that would repeat. Yeah.
Very strong poetry music connection. I almost think of them as one and the same.
So, Megan, you mentioned a world of bugs. What is that world? Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Frost is my middle name and is homage to my aunt, who's a book artist. Her retrospective show in California is going to happen this fall. And so that's what I chose when I realized that coming out of clinical practice, where your name has a certain specific legal meaning, and then going into science. And so I do infectious disease work, including emerging infectious diseases. So the latest bug, by the way, don't Google it. Don't Google New World Screwworm. Do not. Content disclosure.
Wow. Thank you for that. And don't Google New World Screwworm is a fantastic title. Just saying, anyone want to grab it? Probably you should, Megan. All right. If we don't have any more questions, please continue talking to your neighbor and meeting someone you don't know. Please come up and look at these paintings by Lillian. I'll give you the title of this one. And I know it was a deeper, small, deep dive this time, and I'm so grateful for your presence and your involvement and your support of Little Patuxent Review, and I'm so grateful to the board and the staff for buoying me up this for the past 3 years. So I think that's it. There's still cookies, right? Okay. Come look at the paintings, say hi to somebody, say hi to me, and thank you all so much.